It is February 11th, 2026, and the dream of the iPhone killer is, well, it's officially on hold. The incredibly hyped hardware project from OpenAI and the legendary designer Johnny Ive, the one that was supposed to be the future, has just slammed into a brick wall. So what on earth just happened? Well, just yesterday, a couple of bombshells dropped thanks to some fresh court filings. First, the project is now delayed until at least February 2027. This is a huge retreat for Sam Altman, who once promised he'd ship 100 million of these things. And, as if that wasn't bad enough, they've also been forced to completely ditch their brand name Branio. So, in just 24 hours, this revolutionary project was left without a name and with a very uncertain future. Insiders and the court docs themselves are painting a pretty grim picture. They're calling the whole venture a legal and production nightmare. This was supposed to be the project that redefined our relationship with tech, and now it's just stuck in limbo. It's nameless, and it has no clear path forward. So, that's the big question, isn't it? How does this even happen? How does a project with this much hype, this much brainpower, and this much funding just completely unravel in public in less than 48 hours? Let's break it down. To really get what's happening here, we need to zoom out a little. See, OpenAI's problem, it's not a one-off thing. It's actually the latest and maybe the biggest failure in a much wider failing trend. The dream of the standalone AI gadget. The promise was, it was incredible, right? A future with screens where AI just seamlessly helps you with everything. But the reality has been, well, a series of buggy, frustrating devices. It feels like a lot of us are hitting what you might call form factor fatigue. We don't really want another gadget to carry, another thing to charge and manage. We just want the gadget we already have to get a whole lot smarter. And look no further than the Humane AI pin for proof. It was the poster child for this whole movement. But it sold less than 10,000 units, it was constantly overheating, and the battery life was awful. It all ended with the company selling off its assets and then, get this, remotely disabling every single device they'd sold. Just a complete and total disaster. So the whole industry is kind of waking up to this new reality, and it was a huge theme at the recent CES. A cool piece of technology on its own just isn't enough anymore. If you don't have a flawless software experience and a really strong ecosystem, even the most innovative hardware is probably doomed to fail. All right, so with that background, let's put the OpenAI project back under the microscope. What were the specific things that went wrong and brought this dream team of Sam Altman and Johnny Ive to a screeching halt? And you have to understand the sheer scale of this bet. OpenAI spent a staggering $6.5 billion to acquire Johnny Ive's startup. When the stakes are that high, a collapse like this becomes even more shocking. The failure really boils down to three big problems. First, a completely self-inflicted legal nightmare. Second, they hit a very real production wall. And third, there was a fundamental clash of cultures inside the company. Okay, so first, that legal disaster. And honestly, this part is just humiliating for them. They got sued by an audio startup called IO. That's IYO. They claimed OpenAI had tested their technology and then just went ahead and launched a grant that was confusingly similar. Well, the court agreed, and it forced OpenAI to completely erase the IO name from everything. It left their flagship project totally nameless. Then, they ran smack into the physical realities of making stuff. The project reportedly hit the hard, cold limits of what's even possible. The custom 2-nanometer chips they needed were incredibly expensive to make, and to make matters worse, a global RAM crisis made it even tougher to get the memory they needed to build this thing at scale. And then, internally, it sounds like it was just a collision of worlds. You had OpenAI's classic Silicon Valley move fast and break things software mindset crashing right into Johnny Ive's legendary obsessive perfectionism. His whole philosophy is designing products that you want to blick and bite. That just doesn't really work with quick, messy development cycles. But while OpenAI was stumbling around in public, its biggest rival was apparently moving with what some sources are calling predatory speed. So now, let's turn our attention to Cupertino, because Apple was preparing a pretty devastating counterattack. And the timing here is just, wow. It's almost too perfect. Right as the news of OpenAI's big delay was breaking, details of Apple's next major software update, iOS 26.4, started to leak. You can bet this was no accident. It was a strategic masterstroke that completely changed the conversation around the AI race. At the core of this leak is a new piece of tech they're calling a zero-latency architecture. Basically, by using its super powerful A19 Pro chips, Apple can run these complex AI models right there on your device. This totally cuts out the lag you get from sending data to the cloud and back, and it makes the AI feel instantaneous. So just think about the difference there. Most other AI gadgets take this slow detour to the cloud for every single thing you ask. Apple is building an on-device superhighway. Your request gets processed locally in milliseconds, which makes the AI feel less like you're using a search engine and more like it's just an extension of your own thoughts. The leaks use this really powerful analogy to describe the grand plan. Apple is turning the iPhone into a nervous system. It's not about building a new device, it's about making the device you already carry the central hub that intelligently connects your entire digital life. And the key to making this all work is a massively overhauled Siri, which is reportedly going to be powered by Google's Gemini AI. We're talking about a Siri that will finally have personal context, it can search your own messages and emails, and on-screen awareness, so it knows what you're doing. This isn't just a small update, it's a total transformation of the iPhone into the ultimate AI sidekick. So, what's the final verdict in all this? This whole clash between these tech titans leads us to a very clear, very powerful conclusion about where technology is heading. The single most important thing to take away from this whole story is this: the AI revolution isn't going to be a new piece of hardware you have to go out and buy. It's going to arrive as a software update for the supercomputer you already carry around in your pocket. And when you look at the market, the logic is just undeniable. These standalone AI hardware devices have really struggled to find an audience. But when you deliver these incredible AI features to the billions of smartphones already out there, that is how you get true mass market adoption. And that is Apple's massive, almost unfair advantage. A startup has to build everything from scratch: the manufacturing, the software, the app ecosystem. Apple already has all of that in place. All they have to do is push a software update and they instantly upgrade the experience for hundreds of millions of people. It's an evolutionary strategy versus a revolutionary one, and it is proving to be way more powerful. Which leaves us with one last, kind of mind-bending thought. After all these years of searching for the next big thing, the next revolutionary gadget, the next iPhone killer, what if the next big thing in tech isn't a new device at all, but it's already in your pocket?
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It really helps the channel grow. See you in the next video.